I'm Chick with Summit Boys, Oklahoma. And first of all, I'd like to thank BAM Consulting for providing this platform to where we could do a informational webinar for the fastest growing and most exciting industry in the country. I don't know if you're aware of this, but BAM Consulting, you need you're a small business owner from writing a business plan, which is vitally important to your future. And then secondly, I thank you that are taking the time to join and learn about this opportunity. I know there's a chat box that's available, so if you have any questions, then I will certainly do my best to answer any and all questions. And you'll have all of my contact information as well as our conversation. So we are going to start on page 1. So this is Boys Oklahoma LLC. The second page is a giant legal disclaimer that basically says, I'm not trying to be somebody that I'm not. All investments are high risk, and you should do your due diligence and research and everything to find out if this is something that's right for you. And consult your financial advisors, lawyers, bankers, everything like that, of course, before you make a financial decision. And you'll get a copy of that disclaimer for sure. So a little bit about me and my experience in the cannabis industry. I'm personally from Midland, Texas. I own a flower shop here called Becky's Flowers, and then I also own a small software company called CYA Flowers, which stands for Cover Your Ass, which is always a fun one to talk about. In the cannabis industry, I'm involved in 2 different farms. There are 2 dispensary clinics in Austin where you can get medical marijuana, but you have to prove that you have a type of epilepsy, have a medical diagnosis, and have gone through 2 different pharmaceutical treatments with 0 results before you qualify for medical marijuana. So Texas is actually far from being a medical state. However, you can see the majority of the country is actually medical states. The national market. 2 years ago, I didn't know anything about cannabis. And I certainly hope that you'll start looking into the national market as well. It is just massive. It is the next gold rush. It's the fastest growing industry in the country right now. Back in 2018, the U.S. cannabis was worth about 11. So it was just 2 years. And by 2025, it is expected to reach 30 billion. So it has increased massively. Another thing that has happened as a result of states becoming medical and recreational is that it's actually lowering the illegal drug usage, the illicit marijuana usage. Legal industry is certainly helping to combat the illegal industry. On the next page, so you can see in these graphs the economic impact. The cannabis industry employs more people than coal and mining, steel and iron mills combined. And you can see on that graphic, it's expected to grow to at least 330,000 jobs by 2022. Lots of information in there as far as how the cannabis industry is helping the economy, helping the states that it's legal in, different things like that. So that's kind of a broad overview of the national market. And then if we go into the Oklahoma market, this is where it really starts to get exciting. So the population in Oklahoma as of 2 years ago was shy of 4 million people, which is tiny compared to Texas, right? But the population of North Texas, by which I mean the DFW Metroplex, was in 2018 7.5 million. So combined, our market for this Oklahoma company is around 11.5 million people. Where the processing facility that we're going to be talking about here in a minute is going to be located is 15 miles north of the Texas border. And then about another 15, 20 miles is where our dispensary is located where products will be sold. So Oklahoma has the most encompassing and open laws for cannabis out of any state in the nation. So in the cannabis industry, Oklahoma is considered the Wild West. It's the only state right now that I'm aware of that will honor any other state's medical card. So if you have a medical card for New Mexico or Arkansas or Louisiana, because everybody around Texas is medical, you can go to Oklahoma and get your prescription filled there. And then, of course, what we're really looking at in the near future is when Oklahoma goes recreational. So there was a ballot initiative for it to be on November's ballot for Oklahoma to become recreational. And because of the wording and terminology and you know how lawyers are, it did not make it on this November's ballot. But historically in the country, once a state goes medical, it's usually about 2 more years before it goes recreational. Well, Oklahoma hasn't even been medical for 2 years yet, so we're still right on track with that. When it does go recreational, then we will be targeting all of that DFW area because that is the closest major market that can just come straight up I-35 in Oklahoma. So as of October of 2019, there were 3,000 medical cards issued. So the state, when they voted to become a medical marijuana state, thought that they would issue 80,000. And this is out about 4 million people, right? They thought that they would issue 80,000. And the state of Oklahoma went medical in, I believe it was, I want to say it was June of 18. And so a little over a year, they had already issued 200,000 medical cards. So it is far and above what they expected. And then, of course, the part that legislatures and people in government always love is through September of 2019, due to their 7% excise tax on medical marijuana products, the state generated $34.5 million in tax revenue. Oklahoma is a poor state. And, they have some oil, and they've got some farming and some ranching and things like that. But in general, Oklahoma is considered a poor state. And so for the state to be able to generate $34.5 million in a little over a year is really a big deal for them, and for any state, quite frankly. So then on the slide, we're going to go into the different sectors of the cannabis industry. So the cultivation growers, that's one of the things that I'm involved in with my interest in the Red River Farms. Today we're going to talk about product manufacturing, processing, and then there's also the retail stores, dispensaries, and how it is that we get out to the consumer. Lab testing, which is something that is legal in any cannabis state. You have to have your product independently tested by a third party. And then ancillary businesses such as security, transportation, packaging, promo materials, all of those different types of things. So we're going to talk about product manufacturing and processing. Next slide. What is processing? So you've probably heard olive oil or almond milk, something to that effect, right? So it's an extraction process in order to get a liquid out of an item. So what the Summit Boys do is they use a hydrocarbon processing machine, and there's a little picture example of that down at the bottom. It runs off of butane and propane. And so by putting that dried product through the hydrocarbon processing machine is how they get the oil out. Now we need that oil, A, because it's got lots of value, but also because you have to have the oil, and in order to have any kind of edible, vape pen, or marijuana concentrate. So you can see in that picture of that marijuana plant, that's a live plant, so it hasn't been dried yet. So all of that hairy part, with the little orange hairy things, all of that, that's considered the bud or the flower. And that's what people actually smoke as far as in a joint with a pipe or something like that. But then you see all of those little green leaves with the white dots on them, those are called sugar leaves. Well, you trim those off in the process of harvesting your flower. But those little white dots are all THC, which is the cannabinoid that actually gets you high. And so that has massive amounts of value in it. So we can't just throw it away. We have to send it to a processor. And this is true for every growth facility across the country. They have to send those sugar leaves and the other parts of the plant that you trim off in processing to a processor. Okay? Next page. And we'll probably come to them. So these are the Summit Boys. The Summit Boys are made up of two adorable guys. They're absolute business geniuses. Their names are Mike and Anthony. And they started the company less than 2 years ago in California. California is the longest and most competitive market in the industry. These guys have been in the cannabis industry their entire lives, so they're very knowledgeable in processing, different things like that. But what they're really, really good at is sales and marketing. And so in less than 2 years from inception, they became the #1 cannabis processing company in the entire state of California. And they are third in the entire country. So you can read their mission statement here, and then a lot of information about them. I mean, you can look them up on Facebook, Instagram. They're really, really active on Instagram. They've also got a YouTube channel. What some boys do, and especially being in California, and it really lends to this, they do influencer marketing, millennial marketing, celebrities, skaters, musicians, all different types of people like that, to where you can get your product in front of an influencer, and all they have to do is take one picture and make a post on Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and that goes out to 2 million followers, right? So they've become wildly successful because of this. I actually should have updated this. There are currently over 500 dispensaries in the state of California and are known as one of the best concentrate brands in the country. The next slide gives a really small sampling of all of the awards that they've won. So if any of you were around in the 60s or 70s, then you know who High Times is. And High Times has been the magazine, the underground cannabis culture for forever. So it's one of the most sought after trophy competitions and everything wins. So they won several High Times competitions, several little Santa Cruz is the area they live in. The Emerald Cup is a really prestigious cannabis competition that also happens in California every year. And then blizzards, the caviar sugar, caviar crumble, and caviar diamonds. So these are 3 of their many products that they make from the oil that is extracted out of the biomass, what I call those sugar leaves and things like that you can't sell to in natural state. And so once they have that oil, then depending on their curing process and how much heat and pressure and different things like that is applied, is what type of concentrates they want to develop. So the sugar, the crumble, the diamonds, they also make sauce, and I mean, there's like 12 different products in it. Okay. So the diamonds, just to give you a reference, detail diamonds would sell for around in Oklahoma up to $180 a gram. The deal. That's not what you all came for. So, is seeking a $400,000 loan as start capital for their first processing facility in Oklahoma. So we are the second state that Summit Boys will be in. The venue will be used for the initial build out of the cannabis processing facility, which will be located at First Farm in Marietta, Oklahoma. And they've actually already started building that. And the initial operating funds. So right now at the First Farm, they've done the dirt work and they're putting up an 8,000 square foot one of those new metal buildings. And so we're anticipating that that part of the building will be done sometime in August. And so we're hoping to have all of our funding in place, I'd say at the latest by the end of August, so that we can start the internal build out for the Summit Boys. So the build is estimated to take two months from the time of funding. And then product production will commence immediately following. So that hydrocarbon processing machine that we looked at earlier, that is a big majority of the cost, more than half of this entire project. And as soon as they turn that machine on, then we have finished product in 72 hours. So it's very fast around. So let's look at the actual money numbers part of it. So we are looking for $200,000, and we are offering a 15% annualized return on investment. So the total repayment would be $740,000. So $400,000 initial capital, $240,000 worth of profit on that. The payout is over 4 years. So say you were to invest by mid-August, then after 12 months, the quarterly payments would begin until the end of 4 years, the end of 48 months, in which time the entire loan amount would be paid off. So I'm not quite be explaining this right, but it's profit, and it is paid out to you 15% annualized, so 15% off every year. There's a minimum of a $25,000 investment, and then goes in increments of $25,000. So you can see kind of the layout year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and the total dollar amounts as far as what is returned to the investor. And I'm sure we'll have questions on this, so we'll come back. And then the next page is an example. So we did an example with a $50,000 investment. So you can see in here the first 12 months there are no payments made, and then starting year 2 there are quarterly payments made with an annual return of $26,666, 67. You can see that. So if you invest $50,000 in this, and your profit will be $30,000, at the end of 4 years you'll have a total of $1,000. And you can see how that's all broken down. So of course you can divide that in half for a $25,000 investment, or multiply it by 2. If it's a $100,000 investment, then you make $60,000 profit. Next slide. Everybody's favorite page is the risk page. And when I do this on purpose, it just sucks me out of the room. Some of our risks that we're not profitable. The business isn't profitable, so we don't have the money to pay back investors. The cost estimate is wrong, or the project is overrun, so we are able to do the build out in the required time, which delay repayment, or the cost out is more than what we anticipated. The third risk is that we are unable to secure biomass, which is required to produce the product. So the biomass are those sugar leaves that still have the THC in them, anything that's trimmed off in the trimming process at a grow facility that they can't sell to a dispensary. And then the fourth risk is it's not federally recognized, which so far hasn't stopped anybody because everybody I've met is dying to get into the cannabis industry, even though it's not federally recognized. But now let's cover risk mitigation, which is my favorite one because I think it puts the oxygen back into the room. So we're not profitable. Summit Boy's success in California shows that they can be profitable in the most regulated state. The cost for employees and state tax in California are insane. They have to offer health insurance to every employee. They have a 16% state income tax, not to mention all of the cannabis taxes, which are higher and higher and higher in California, versus we don't have all of those problems in Oklahoma. All of the projections of their sales we estimated way below market price. When we started doing our projections of everything, what it would take, and when we'd be profitable and all of that kind of stuff, we kept cutting the numbers in half. What if the market drops? So we cut it in half. What if the market gets flooded? What if, whatever happens? And we just cut and cut and cut. And it's still a phenomenal idea. And in order to combat the profitability issue or possible issue, the distribution chain is already in place. So because the first farm, which I'm also a part of, is coming in on this joint venture with the Summit Boys, we already have biomass. Now, the Summit Boys will not only be processing the biomass from the first and the second farm, but they can also process the biomass for the entire state of Oklahoma. So all of the growers in Oklahoma can use them. And then we already have Red River Farms already has their first dispensary in Ardmore, Oklahoma. And then they will be building their second dispensary in Norman. So they already have a relationship as a grow facility with tons of different dispensaries all over the state and all major cities, all of that. And so that will help in bringing the Summit Boys in. But if you check out the Summit Boys on any other social media accounts, they really don't need our help. I mean, these guys are killing it everywhere they go. Okay, cost estimates, project overrun. So the estimated total project is $800,000. So we have already raised $500,000 of that project. And so we're just looking to secure the last $300,000. One of the things that has helped immensely is the fact that the first farm has come in on this. So they're helping with the building costs, different things like that. And then we've already secured the high cost equipment, which is that little graphic of the hydrocarbon processing machine, butane and propane. That's a custom made piece that is from the same company that the Summit Boys have their California machine from. And so that company is already on standby that, we're ready to order another one. Unable to secure biomass, I can already cover that because of our connection with Red River Farms. We automatically have biomass at our disposal. And then also the Summit Boys have been working for, I met them back in November. So since November, they have been speaking to other farms and grow facilities and everything like that in the state of Oklahoma and going ahead and securing those contracts with them. Not federally recognized. So the Summit Boys are fully compliant and have been operating in California, once again, the strictest environment to operate in under the current federal and state regulations. And the potential for federal approval is on that horizon. Regardless of who you believe in, on November 3rd, both of them have talked about making marijuana federally legal. So there is that. Next step. Next page. So, like I said before, we are hoping to close out this funding process, the last $300,000, in the next 4 weeks, because that's when the outside part of the building will be finished and we can go in and start the build out. It's first come, first serve. And the next step would be to contact me and sign a letter of intent / loan agreement set up funding, different things like that. And one of the, I'm going to jump ahead to my own question, because this is one that I get a lot, on things that this opens you up to is the opportunity for future cannabis investments, including equity deals. So in the past year, I've been a part of a group of people that has raised over $2 million cash in capital funding for the second farm in Oklahoma. So that was all for equity. This is a simple loan, a return on investment. But as we did with the people that initially trusted us and our project, with the second farm, whenever there's something else that comes available, then we offer that to them first before we go seek more outside investors, if that makes sense. So this does kind of get your toe in the water in a much safer way than equity investment. And then the last slide is my information, which we'll also send out to you. So, any questions? Yeah, I'll start making up my own questions that I know all the answer to. And feel free to just put them in that chat box. A lot of times it's so much information at once, especially if you haven't previously been looking at the cannabis industry or learning about it, that it can be completely overwhelming. And that's why I try to just cover a little bit about, the national market, the Oklahoma market, who the boys are and what they do, and then what it is that our current offering is on the table, so you can have a broad overview of things.
Question, is there a deadline?
Yes. So we are hoping to have this last $300,000 raised by the end of August. So that gives us I'd say about 4 weeks, really, on the deadline for this.
What series are you in now?
Ooh. Oh, that's a savvy investor. Dadgum, I should have read up on my series questions. So I can tell you that with this investment, with the Summit Boys Venture, we started raising money in January. So January and February, and then as you know, the world fell apart. So that kind of put everything on hold. And then we were able to secure the first farm, also half of the funding for the total project. And I do want to talk a little bit about vertical integration, but to finish that up, so now we're getting to the tail end of things. We've already started building all of that, and this is our last push for funding. And then part of the question that will there be a further call made on the answer this? And the answer is no. So hey, we need more money. That won't happen. This is just a one-time invest in this. This is exactly what your payout structure looks like and over what time period. So about any of you that are in business, exactly what I mean. The more pieces of the pie that you can have, the better off you are. So, Red River Farms is the grow, and also have a dispensary. So they create a product and they have a way to sell it to the consumer. But what they're missing in there is the processing and packaging. They have some packaging, but the processing side of it. So currently Redwood Farms sells flower and pre-roll, which is the new thing, to their dispensary and to dispensaries across the state. With this also brand rights. And one of the things that Summit Boys can do is white label for any company in Oklahoma. So, what the farm is trying to do is have, every step of the way, the whole vertical integration thing, which is why the Summit Boys is such a good fit with that farm. Thank you for tuning in and taking the time to hopefully learn a little bit more about the cannabis industry and our current offering that we have, which will always lead to further offerings. Like I was part of a group that raised $2 million in the last year worth of equity. So there's always more opportunities in the cannabis industry. It's the fastest growing and most exciting industry. One thing I did mention, because the fact that this is basically a simple loan, right? We can't go to the bank and borrow money. We can't bank borrow $300 because it's for cannabis. They're completely out. And so we have to do private funding, right? Oh gosh, where was I going with that? Yes. That's where I'm from, here in Midland, Texas. They're like, I'm really interested in cannabis, getting into the cannabis industry. I know there's tons of money to be made there, but I don't want cannabis to show up in my portfolio, right? In case your accountant or somebody who should know what you're doing financially anyway, who would possibly judge you for that. And so I can tell you that it wouldn't, because it would show up as a loan made to Summit Boys, the name of that venture. To a lot of times, I don't know about getting into the cannabis industry, because we all have our own notions about what that was like, depending on what decade you were raised in or what part of the country you were raised in. And because of the way that we have structured this, in my opinion, whether we were selling cannabis concentrates or if we were selling dog, because either way, you get a 15% annualized return on your money for 4 years, every year for 4 years. Those are two little I got to put in there. And then certainly hope if you have questions or concerns or would like to see the